All praise to the Most High. Praises to those who seek righteousness, irregardless to your circumstances. Thanks to the subscribers and supporters of the Church Talk Unlimited channel. Your support is appreciated very much. Wherever you are, whoever you are, thank you for being here. I know that there are many other important things that you could be doing, but you are here. This is very meaningful to me because I don't have a lot of people to talk to about the church, particularly when I talk about the church being out of alignment with the Bible that we say is our book, specifically the New Testament. Many people who acknowledge that things are wanting in our churches due to the slothful preachers, elders, and deacons, still many times don't want to talk about that stuff, especially if it involves their favorite preachers, their favorite elders, deacons, and musicians in the church. Hello, it is Saturday, March 9th, 2024, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Welcome to Church Talk Unlimited with James Paul Berry. Unfortunately, I was not able to put the entire title on the preview, so we're talking about according to the Bible, saying I love you is not enough. And I'm talking about the relationship that we have with each other, particularly in the church, according to the Bible. Saying I love you is not enough. Now, if you're like me, you like to hear that. In all of my life, I've liked to hear that. I've enjoyed hearing that. But sometimes it was nothing more than words. And according to the Bible, saying I love you, saying the words is not enough. I'm taking scriptures to use in this talk from the book of 1 John, chapter 3, I believe it is, and verse 11. You can check me on that. For this is the message you heard from the beginning. We should love one another. Verse 12. Do not be like Cain, who belonged to the evil one and murdered his brother. And why did he murder him? Because his own actions were evil and his brothers were righteous. Do not be surprised, my brothers and sisters, if the world hates you. We know that we have passed from death to life because we love each other. Anyone who does not love remains in death. Anyone who hates a brother or sister is a murderer. And you know that no murderer has eternal life residing in him. Verse 16. This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters or for each other. Verse 17. If anyone has material possessions and sees a brother or sister in need, but has no pity on them, how can the love of God be in that person? Now, this is from the book of John, verse 18. Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth. Our relationships should be built on love and truth. And based on research that I've done, we are born with love and truth in us. And there are a few things that sometimes interfere with our makeup, with our chemistry. But mentally, it seems that we are born with love and truth in us. According to the Bible, just saying I love you is not enough. Verse 19, this is how we know that we belong to the truth. Not only do we love each other and we share the truth with each other, we are in truthful relationships as best as we can be, not just talking about love, but actually loving each other shows that we have our hearts set properly in the presence of our God, in the presence of our Creator. Verse 20, if our hearts condemn us, we know that God is greater than our hearts. If we know in our hearts and our minds that we have not done our very best in these relationships that we are blessed to have, if we know that we have not done our very best, when we look in the mirror, we can't stand to look at ourselves. When we look in the Bible condemns us. Our conscience condemns us. If that's true, we know that God is greater than our hearts, than our conditions, than our conscience, even greater than the Bible. But if all those things say that we are guilty of not doing our best, we should work to change before time runs out. Because just saying, I love you to each other according to the Bible is not enough. If our hearts condemn us, we know that God is greater than our hearts, and He knows everything. Verse 21, dear friends, if our hearts do not condemn us, we have confidence before God. And I know people think that the reason I speak the way I speak is because I'm jealous that I don't have my hands in the till, but I'm really upset because poor people have turned their back on the church because the leaders would not share the wealth that those people needed. And sharing that wealth would not set the church back. It wouldn't cause the church to lose any blessings. It actually would, according to Jesus' teaching, it would cause more blessings because He says, cast your bread upon the water, and the bread belongs to Him anyway. So that upsets me. It doesn't make me jealous. If I was jealous, I would get me a church and I would do the same thing that they are doing. But I care about us doing the things because we belong to the truth. God is truth. God is reality. And sometimes truth doesn't always reveal nice things about us. Truth is sometimes we are in the wrong area of life. Sometimes we're in the right area doing the wrong thing. According to the Bible, saying I love you is not enough. To anyone, in any relationship, just saying I love you is not enough. Verse 21, dear friends, if our hearts do not condemn us, we have confidence before God. verse 22, and receive from him anything we ask, because we keep his commands and do what pleases him. Well, what about all these poor people who has been going to church all of their lives, even while some of them were in their mother's wombs? They were going to church and they've learned how to give and to pledge and to tithe, but they never can seem to overcome the economic difficulties in their lives. But we know they're good people. They're faithful. I think the problem is that church leaders don't have enough vision to see that what God has blessed you to put in the storehouse was to be put in there for times of need and not just for yourselves, especially preachers. Verse 23, and this is his command, to believe in the name of his Son, Jesus Christ, and to love one another as he commanded us. I often like to talk about Matthew chapter 25, where in judgment, the things that were being asked of all of us was, did we do things for people? Or we were guilty of not doing things for people. I don't think we're going to be able to prove to God or to the world that we are the people of God if we don't show love in more tangible ways. The church in Corinth was asked by Paul to assist the poor people at Jerusalem, the poor saints at Jerusalem, in advance. And when the time came for him to go and collect that money, because he had already told them, set it aside, so there won't be any gathering, there won't have to be any collections when we come. And when the time came, he told them to prove the sincerity of your love, which means when I get there, have the money ready to send back to Jerusalem. Saying I love you is not enough. And I know you can't buy love with money, but sometimes, according to the Bible, the evidence that we love each other is that we sacrifice wealth by using it to help those who are in the most need. I'm not talking about allowing people to pimp you or to play you or to sucker you, but you know when people need help. You know we all need food, water, clothing, shelter, housing, etc., transportation, medication, visitation. We all need those things at some point in our lives. And many of these churches have gotten rich using the Bible. And the preachers are rich because they are in charge. And I know they say, well, I don't control what goes in the treasury, but you control basically what comes out of it based on your teaching. According to the Bible, saying I love you is not enough. Verse 24. The one who keeps God's commands lives in him and he in them. And this is how we know that he lives in us. This is how we know that God lives in us. We know it by the Spirit that God gave us. And the Spirit that God gave, according to the Bible, is the Spirit to help those who are in need when they can be. And I don't say too much about church members. I talk about the leaders because church members have brought money and put it in the hands of the church leaders for most of their lives. So people have done their part, more than their part. And even when they do their part, the preachers come back and still ask for more money to help the community. According to the Bible, real love can be experienced in real time. People don't have to wait until the invisible heaven or the street of gold or Jesus comes back. Right now, Paul said, 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verses 1 through 3, the verse that I referenced a while ago. Now about the collection for the Lord's people. Listen to that. This is the New International Version, in case you'd like to read it for yourself. The King James Version said, now concerning the collections for the saints. This one says, now about the collection for the Lord's people. And I want to ask this question, preachers all over the world, wherever you are. If you keep collecting money and you're not collecting it for the Lord's people, who are you collecting it for? Paul goes on to say, do what I told the Galatian churches to do. And this is when they were collecting money for those poor people in Jerusalem. On the first day of every week, each one of you should set aside a sum of money and keep it with your income, saving it up so that when I come, no collection will have to be made. Well, why are we collecting money all the time? Nobody's coming to pick it up. Why can't the members who need it come and pick up some of it? Verse 3, then when I arrive, I will give letters of introduction to the men you approve and send them with your gifts to Jerusalem. According to the Bible, saying I love you is not enough. It blows my mind why churches keep collecting money and buying property, and poor people are still having their homes foreclosed. I heard the speech Mr. Biden did talking about the economy, but there are still people, thousands of people about to be laid off from one of these big, I think it was Rheem Manufacturing. There are people still losing their homes. And I know from working in job services, employment services, that when you have used up all of the unemployment benefits that you're eligible for, you can't use it all. After you've done 2 years, you are kicked off and you are no longer counted. So please check the numbers yourselves. Until next time, I wish you all the exceeding and abundant blessings of God. I'm going to go now and see who's in the live chat. God willing, I'll see you next week. And thank you all for being here. Brother Walker is here. Blessings to you, Brother Walker. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Brother Willie. Blessings to see you here also. And thank all of you for your time and your effort to be here. Because like I said earlier, you could be anywhere. There's a whole lot to do, good or bad. And to be here listening to an old man like me and talking to an old man like me, it is very encouraging to me, because this is one of my number one conversations. It's talking to the church about the church. Please feel free to add your comments as you like. But as for me, this is going to be my time to sign off. And God willing, I will see you next week.